Thank you. Well, hi everyone. I hope you're having a great lunch hour. We are here at the Elliott Museum. I'm so excited to be back here. We usually host our kickoff here, and you know, an unusual year, so we didn't get to be here for our kickoff this year, but we are already in the works. Debbie Vanta is already working with me for next kickoff, so that is great news. But I'm just so happy to be here with the Elliott Museum as well as the Martin Artisans Guild today that are going to share some information about their group, and some of the artists are here to share information about their artwork as well. So I'm just really excited. We're going to have some Q&A time at the end. If you want to type in your questions or wait till the end and ask them, that would be great. But I'm going to turn it over to Rob Steele, our Executive Director for the Elliott Museum. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. It's always a happy museum when we have artists in our midst. When we had the opening for this exhibit, we had a large group that night and everybody was happy. I just want to welcome everyone here today, applaud you on your efforts for education in the arts. It's one of the things I hold near and dear to my heart. I fought for it my entire life. I really believe in arts in the public schools everywhere we can to uplift kids, especially now. They need it now more than ever. So I deeply appreciate your extraordinary efforts in making this happen. And I'll just want to leave you by saying you are welcome here today, tomorrow, and every day. You're doing great work and you have my full unfettered support. And now I'd like to introduce the lovely Barb Gucci, who will take it from here.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone. Have a great lunch. We're happy to be here, as always, at the Elliott Museum. I'm grateful for the attention that we get from them and in support of the arts, and it's our first opportunity to be in front of Impact 100. So thank you for sharing this event, this special event with us. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the artists that will be speaking about their work and a little bit about our group today. I guess Sue Klahne would be the first one. This is her work over here, and let's get Jackie up here also. Jackie Roesch-Sanchez is a fiber artist in our group. She'll come in front of the camera and then kind of meander over towards her beautiful piece. And then finally we have Jane Lawton Baldridge, who's on our board and a good friend, as are all these women, and they have a lot to share about their work. And once again, thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Klahne. Nice to meet you all. Just to give you a little bit of background on me and my process, I went to school for graphic design, which was just a very meticulous form of art. I was trained in all of the mediums, watercolor, oil painting, you name it, acrylic. I was an art director for a few years before I settled down and had children, and took about 20 years off from painting or creative endeavors. And when the kids moved out, turned their rooms into art studios and kind of picked up where I left off. And my work now is such contrast to my graphic design work. I really work in a lot of fluid mediums, acrylic, watercolor, alcohol ink, resin. This particular piece is it's acrylic, and then it has epoxy on top that I manipulate with a heat gun and torch to create these multiple layers. You can actually feel, if you were here to touch, the multiple layers that roll across the sand. My inspiration just comes from nature, and I love the color blue and water and how it's soothing. I'm super passionate about mental health and addiction and being a voice for people who don't have that voice. For me personally, my art is just a big part of my own personal wellness, brings me serenity through the process of the fluid nature of the work that I do, and I hope that it also brings serenity to others who view it. I have a home studio in Palm City I work out of, and I love what I do. Every day I get up, and it's not like a job. I just really love and am passionate about what I do, and I hope that it brings joy to my viewers. That's about it.
Thank you so much, Sue. All right, I'm gonna be slow here. You can see some of the other artwork as we're filtering over to the corner here. All right.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Roesch-Sanchez, and I'm fairly new to Florida, 5 years here now. But I decided when I was in my late 20s to learn how to work on a knitting loom, and I bought one, and I apprenticed for a hand-loomed knitwear designer. And I found this place in New York City called Majestic Rayon, and I started collecting their thread. And over the years, I've collected almost 2,000 cones of thread. I'm down to about 1,700 at this point. And the thing that's remarkable about it, being a person who's been interested in color my whole life, is that even with all of those different colors of thread, there's always something missing. This particular piece is hand-loom knitted, and it's a jacket. My favorite shapes for the work that I do are simple shapes. My influences were Issey Miyake and the Misones, so you can see the connection to the colorations like the Misones. But the Issey Miyake, the simple geometric shapes of clothing that are filled out and draped and changed by the human body, become the thing that shows off the beauty of this work. This particular jacket is called Eventide, and the colors are inspired by that time of day just before it gets dark, which is one of my favorite times of the day, because the colors take on a silvery tone and they get kind of muted. Since I've been in Florida, I've gotten into some pretty bright colors. I must say, I've really been enjoying the colors of the ocean and all the pinks and reds and golds of the different flora and fauna that are out there. It has been a really big influence on my work. I've been doing this work since 1975, and it's evolved over the years. I was with a gallery in New York City called Julie Artisans. That was the first gallery for art to wear, and I enjoyed that gallery and being part of that group of artists for 35 years. They closed in 2013, so now I have my own studio and people can come and visit, and I hope that someday you'll decide to come and see me. I'm in Palm City, and I'm also part of the Artisans Guild, so you can reach me either place, and I would love to see you. Thank you for letting me show you my work.
Awesome, thank you. All right.
Hi, I'm Jane Lawton Baldridge, and I'm a sea level girl. Perfection is the bow cutting through the waves like a hot knife through ice cream, surrounded by diamonds glinting off the wrinkles on the water. The aroma of sea breeze is ambrosia of the senses to the nose. I grew up on the water. I wanted to be a sailor and a painter since I was a little girl. I've made both those things happen for the last 62 years since my mother stuffed my bassinet underneath her sailboat. I'm now a licensed boat captain, and I continue over 45 years later to paint. And although the beginning of this talk was about the perfect day on the water, as we all know, not all days are perfect days on the water or in life. And so my painting here is called Undertow, and I painted it last fall, winter actually, when my son came down with COVID. And it was more frightening than sailing through the 2 hurricanes I sailed through as a young girl, or any of my other challenges, both on the water and off. But you have to embrace the perfect days and the storms, and hopefully the messages and what you've learned through going through those things come through in your artwork, and your passion tells those stories, whether it's of a young girl finding her first perfect queen conch shell at the seashore during her walkabout, or her journey many decades later realizing that the true treasures are the bits of color and shape that are the remnants of the shells. That's the way our life goes. It's not all a pretty picture, but I try and make even the darkest stories attractive so that people will want to look at them long enough to get the message. I appreciate all the support I have gotten from the Martin Artisans Guild and the community for the short period of time I too have been in Florida, and I call them my dear friends now and find it, Stuart, a treasure trove of great people and inspiring community action. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Well, I appreciate everything everybody has had to share with us. And I just wanted to maybe ask a couple questions. Barbara, if you don't mind to also come back.
Sure.
I would love for you to share some information with our group about the Martin Artisans Guild and what your goals are as a group and how you all work together. Make sure you're all in there. There you go.
I just have to say that I feel like a proud mama right now. My job as artist, herder, and corraller, I couldn't have chosen 3 better speakers. I'm so proud of you, I swear. Anyway, what would you like to know?
Well, just to, talk to us about the group, your mission. You had this recent, open studio tour, which was awesome, and that started
Sure.
here. But are there other upcoming events or anything you'd like to share with our group that will
Sure.
benefit you guys as well?
Thank you. We had recently, at the beginning of March, our 5th annual Open Studio Tour, which is an opportunity for participating members to open their homes, open their studios to the community. It's been growing year after year. Of course, this year it was very different for many reasons, of which you all know. Typically we have it in January. We pushed it to March because we were concerned that, there still might be some lingering hesitation, shall we say, to get people to actually come into the homes. But we figured it out and no complaints. We had 6 artists in a guild gallery in Harbor Bay Plaza, not too far from here, called the Palm Room. And in the 2 days, we had 350 people go through there. I think between Arts Fest and a botanical garden in Port St. Lucie art show, we probably gave out 6,000 to 7,000 tour booklets. So having those in the hand of the community was a way to, invite people to see what we do in the group. We sponsor some artists in the group from time to time. We sponsor some students from time to time as well. We have professional artists leveled. We have emerging artists. We have just supporters of the group. We just are always trying to find a way to help the artists exhibit and get their work in front of the public. We'll be looking for a new space shortly. We were in the Palm Room at Harbor Bay for about 15 months, and it was a space that was gifted to us. And the plaza management finally were able to rent the space to a group of lawyers. So we're essentially homeless at the moment, although we have been gifted another space adjacent to our old space for the next couple of months. But then we thought we would want to find a more permanent home for ourselves. So we're on the hunt, and if you know of anything, please find a way to get in touch with us. Anyway.
And the booklets that you talked about are these that you brought for us.
Yes.
So we're happy to share that with any of our
That would
impact
be
members.
great,
And
yeah.
make sure
And
that they're
all
available.
of the artists would be happy to, have a private showing in their home in, small groups or individuals. We're good that way.
Excellent.
So,
Awesome. I have a question for you. How long does a piece like this that you're showing us take?
The almost always question.
Yes.
Everything is of course varied because the most length of time that I spend on any of these works is the colors. Because as I mentioned earlier, I seem to always find in the spectrum that I don't have a certain color. So I have to figure out a way to get around that, which is great. Testing a colorist is a good thing because you come up with some interesting choices. So, but this jacket, the actual making of it takes me about a week because everything is first of all, the pieces are hand loomed, but then everything else is sewn by hand. If there's crocheted edgings, like on my shirt that I'm wearing. They take a long time to do. Everything is supposed to look as good inside as it does outside. So all of that does take time. I take a tremendous amount of care with my work, and I have a lot of pride in workmanship.
Yep.
So, and I'm always interested in playing around with different designs. So that's another element that takes time, is making the pattern, trying to figure out how the fit's going to be. But it's all a labor of love. I really enjoy it. So jackets are about a week. This kind of a top would take me at least 4 to 5 days.
That is one of your pieces that you're
Yes, it
wearing
is.
as well.
This is flame out.
Okay, yeah, and you
All the
can
colors that
see,
you find in a flame.
yeah, it's hard to see it, in, you know, because you're a little
Yeah,
bit further
it's
away,
subtle.
but it's from orange to the pink, and it's beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
that's wonderful. Well, how about one of you was sharing excellent information before we started. Are you able to share that? Didn't somebody sell a piece?
Oh,
That's you, right? Are you comfortable sharing that? I just put you on the spot. Sorry.
well, one of the amazing outcomes for many of the guild members in the last couple months is a surge of support from the community and people outside the community visiting that are actually purchasing art. And obviously we paint and create our artworks, whether it's glass or fiber or whatever the media, because of our passion. But at some point you run out of spaces to stash those things or money to buy more supplies. So it's kind of critical. And so I was fortunate to be in a show down in Palm Beach at the designer showroom that opened last Thursday, called The Future is Female, celebrating Women's Month. And a lady from Chicago involved in the arts community there came and purchased a 5-foot-tall painting of mine. So
Wow.
tomorrow I figure out how to ship.
How to ship a 5-foot-tall painting? Well, that's amazing. Congratulations.
But obviously finding places to exhibit are important. So just to briefly touch back on what Barbara was talking about, we had this wonderful gallery we opened up 15 months ago in Harbor Bay Plaza, and the community outpouring of support and enthusiasm for that space has touched us deeply enough that we are on the hunt to find a permanent space that we can continue to offer not just beautiful exhibits of our members' artwork, but also educational opportunities for the community. And we're at this point, I think, looked at both ends of the spectrum and decided that maybe a major large space won't be in our possibilities right now unless we win the lottery or some major funding. But we also are looking beyond what we thought we could do initially. So it's a wonderful learning curve, and thanks to the community and all their support, we hope to be able to continue to bring great artwork to on a regular basis.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And Sue, do you mind to maybe talk a little bit more? Like you said, your background was in graphic design, and now you're working full time in your art. And you said, I don't know if I'm gonna word it right, but you said it relates, but it doesn't relate. Like maybe you can kind of expand on that.
So when I was trained to be a graphic designer, everything was done by hand, whereas now everything's done on the computer. But it was just very precision work and layouts and advertising. Everything just had to be straight and precise. So for me, as a fluid artist, where I have some control over the media, but not all, especially with resin, it has a little bit of a mind of its own. It's very freeing in contrast to the graphic design and the precision of it. So as much as that's somewhat out of my comfort zone, it's just, it's part of what I'm embracing now at this stage in my life. It's just the freedom associated with that free-flowing technique and medium that I just really find joy and pleasure in creating.
Wonderful. Thank you. And you also said you use it for your own mental health, which I love and appreciate. Do you both also feel that way? Is this like a therapeutic, you know, I know it's something that you're doing for multiple reasons, but is that how you feel when you're sitting down at your loom or doing your work?
I recently started scanning the slides I have of my artwork going back to 1974. And the journey, some of those years I had kind of off. But to look at the artwork from it so told the story, and things that I thought were hazy in my memory became very clear. I could tell you almost to the day what day certain pieces had been done, even though I'd only given them a year notation, because I could see the emotional outpouring from my soul to the paper, to the canvas, telling what I was going through, or trying to hide it, or celebrate it, or whatever the situation was. But I have a very renewed interest in finishing my archives so that I can maybe put it all down in a book and take that journey.
That's awesome. Awesome. And for you too, is that?
It's the whole thing is a meditation. And I remember for years and years, I thought to myself, I'd really like to learn how to meditate. Not realizing that I was actually doing that from putting the colors together, it's a meditation. And sometimes it takes me months to get a coloration spectrum correct. And that's numbers of cones of thread. I just speaking of archives, I pulled a dress out from my archives the other day that was 107 colors.
Wow.
And it was amazing to look at it again. So yeah, everything from the concept, the color, the actual knitting is meditative, except when I make a mistake. And wonderful for the crochet and sewing that I do afterwards. I really, really enjoy that so much. I think it's my favorite part, because then I've put it all into a nice serene package.
And you mentioned when you were speaking initially that you have collected these cones of thread over the years, and then sometimes you're missing the color, the exact color that you need, which I understand. Are you able to get the same type of material now, or you're running into some issues with that? Okay.
If I could go to China,
Okay.
where they do manufacture the viscose rayon still, it's made from wood pulp. And the process is not a very clean process. So there's a few factories in the the outer parts of China that do manufacture viscose rayon. And I imagine there's a few other places as well. But finding the company that this came from stopped. They closed down a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So I'm looking and trying to decide whether to take a chance on China or not.
Right. Or some similar materials. Have you had to experiment over the years?
I found embroidery thread through a few embroidery thread outlets. I've been able to find it, but it's so thin, and I have to use multiple threads. So it becomes, then they get tangled up and caught up in the machine.
Oh.
It's like, I'd really rather just find this again if I can.
That's wonderful. Well, I have a comment here. For Impact 100, what we do is we're at least 100 women. We all contribute $1,000, and then we give out grants in $100,000 increments. So we have 4 semifinalists. We're going to give those dollars out. We actually have 2 $100,000 grants that are going to be given out on April 8th, and we have 4 finalists. New Horizons is one of them, so that's why this came up, as well as Boys and Girls Club, House of Hope, and my gosh, why it's escaping me right this second. Boys and Girls Club, House of Lori, chime in. But
Tykes and Tees.
no, it's not Tykes and Tees.
Safe spaces.
Safe Space. Thank you so much. So those are our 4 finalist organizations, and I understand that you recently had an event with New Horizons. Is that correct, Sue? You did.
Sue
Yeah,
did,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
So do you do other kind of charitable work with your art within the community that maybe you can talk to us about?
This past weekend on Saturday, another fellow artist that's a member of the Artisans Guild invited 9 artists to exhibit at the Fox Club in Palm City in Stuart West. And we have a silent auction to raise money for New Horizons of the Treasure Coast. And we just found out last night that we raised $6,375 for the organization. So we are just thrilled. I mean, the purpose was also for the artists to exhibit their work, but for me, it's just a cause so close to my heart. So it's just amazing to raise that kind of money and bring awareness to the cause, and it's just, yeah, very, very rewarding experience.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're excited to have them as one of our finalists, of course, one of 4. How about you, the 2 of you, what other areas do you share your work in the community?
Well, I come from a community in North Carolina that had some very creative ways for artists to get involved in helping fundraise. The orchestra nonprofit gave us all plastic cellos to decorate, which they then auctioned off. Hospice had us go in and pick out either doors or windows and create a piece of art from that, which was auctioned off. Another one, Keep a Breast Family, did a plaster cast of women's chests, some with mastectomies, some without, and gave those to us, which we then created a work of art. And I have found some of those kind of opportunities here. I can't remember the name of the one, but there was one right before COVID where we actually decorated donation boxes to look like homes. And I don't think they've been able to have their event yet. I remember getting it to her, but at that point, everything shut down.
Yeah.
What about In Her Image, the exhibit that was downstairs?
So there's a group that does a lot of fundraising for scholarships and that kind of thing. And In Her Image was one of them. I was in with a 3/4 mannequin that was here November of 2019 and November through March, I think, December through March. And it was all mannequins that we decorated, and then they were auctioned or sold. And the same group has just put on one with flamingos. So I decorated my flamingo, and it had 2 decent bids, well over the minimum bid. So I was pretty happy about that last Saturday.
Wonderful.
So it's, I've encouraged in talking to anybody I can, because I am new to town, that there are some great and very fun ways to involve artists. In the historically, decades ago, they would just ask us to donate a painting for an auction, and that's boring and repetitive and sad. So it's way more fun to give us something to play with.
Project to work on, yeah.
And create something, and then you see everybody's individual styles really come out on a vehicle that they might not have ever done before. So I think that's and I preach often to our group that my success is born from volunteering and contributing. The more good I help do, the more good I have happened to me. So I think everybody in this room feels that same way.
Yeah.
Primarily mine has been volunteering and working with groups, particularly women's groups. But I did a whole series of scarves and shawls, and they're available, of course, for sale, but also when I'm asked, primarily in the past, it's been hospice that I've been involved with, both as a fundraiser as well as to contribute to the silent auctions that we have had over the years. And but I really do find that not just with my artwork, that volunteering and doing good works in order to raise money for various, and especially women's organizations, that's very near and dear to my heart. So.
Excellent. Well, we are a group of a bunch of women, so that works for us too. So you all have shown your work, and we're talking about the space needs that you have to continue to display your artwork in the community. But can you talk also about how people maybe outside of our community can connect with you? Or do you have a social media following or website or anything like that? I'll let you guys each opine on that.
So absolutely. And we are trying to put ourselves out there. One of the beautiful things about the Martin Artisans Guild is those of us that have strengths in one area try and help, and that are successful in getting us further down our career path. We try and share those processes and outlets for communication with our fellow artists. So we've had through our group, a seminar on Instagram and on Facebook and on writing bios and that kind of thing. So all of us have websites that are online and or professional art pages on Facebook. And we try and encourage Instagram because it's such an art vehicle.
And all that can be accessed through the Guild website, right? The artist
So
directory.
we can connect through to
Yeah,
you
so
through the Guild website
the
and then
Guild
to you
has
directly.
all of the members on its website and links where possible. So you should be able to go to martinartisanguild.org and go to artists gallery and then find Jane Lawton Baldridge, and there should be a link to my website through that. Also, they're in the book.
Excellent.
Could you mention about our opening that we're having next week at the
Thank you.
palm room at Cafe Buma in Harbor Bay Plaza?
Yes, so at 3722 Southeast Ocean in Harbor Bay Plaza next to Cafe Boonma, we are having a show opening April 1st. I know this isn't an April Fool's joke. And it will remain open through May 22nd. It opens April 1st, which is a Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30. We will have tasty nibbles from Cafe Boonma. We'll have a cash bar. We're hoping to have a piano player. And Dot will be there.
No.
Oh,
Wear your
yes.
masks. Yeah.
And we do practice social distancing. We do mask up. We have hand sanitizer. We try to be safe because one of the things we did last summer and fall was start having very careful art shows at the original Palm Room. And our other art cultural groups in the community look to us as putting our first foot forward and leading us as a group of cultural organizations out of the seclusion that we were in during the early parts of COVID. And they wanted to see, how did we do it? And was it successful? And did people like it? And yes, it was all of the above.
Yeah.
People are just so thrilled to be able to get out, and they don't mind wearing a mask and being careful until everyone has been vaccinated.
And how long is this exhibit up as well? In the Elliott?
Through the end of May.
Through the end of May. So also all this artwork that you're seeing on the walls is being exhibited at the Elliott Museum, who is also practicing social distancing and masking. And so there's also an opportunity to come and see some of the artwork here as well. How many members does the Martin Artisan Guild have?
45, 42.
42, 45. Okay, excellent. Nice close knit group of
Yeah.
people. That's awesome. Well, how about yourselves with, you know, any other ways to get connected with you, or just go through the Artisans Guild, or?
I'm in the directory on the Artisans Guild, and I have a website, SueKlahneCustomArtwork.com. Like I said, anybody can reach out to me, my home studio, and set up a private appointment to view my art at any time.
And all of you are either on the martinartisanguild.org website. We can reach you all through that.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. And I have a website, www.knittedware, KNITTEDWARE.com. I don't like to limit myself.
That's wonderful.
Mine's www.artspeaks.com.
Art Space. Okay, wonderful. Well, anything else that you would like to share with our group, or anything, you know, I want to make sure that you guys get everything out, information out about yourselves and the Guild and the art world in our community. So
It's growing and we're happy to be here, and
yeah,
we're
well,
happy to have an audience again. you know?
Yes, that's so important. We would love to work with you all again in the future if there's interest in
yeah,
what
it
we're
sounds like
doing.
you're having some some open areas where we can go and
Yeah.
share some of the artwork and maybe do a little bit of this in person, which would
Sure.
be great for the members that are comfortable doing that. So, well, I just want to thank everybody for being here, and
I just wanted to say that the Elliott Museum has been absolutely honored and thrilled to showcase the beautiful works of the Martin Arts Guild and to really embrace the art community and feel a part of it. So we thank you all for sharing your work with us. And we hope that this is going to be, the first of many, long-term exhibits that we showcase of your wonderful talent.
Yep, thank you. And that was Debbie Banta in the background there. She's not on camera, but helps coordinate this. So I thank you to the Elliott Museum, to Debbie, to Barbara, and the Arts Guild. This was awesome. I'm really appreciative of everything you guys have shared with us today. If we get other questions in, I will connect people with you directly. It's a great way to build out your art collection and meet these awesome ladies. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you for having